Hey guys, Fallout Lover here, back with another Fallout 76 video, and today I have another video for you guys lined up. In this one, we'll be covering how to farm Flux in Fallout 76. So over the years, I see that people don't really farm Flux as much, so I figured either they just don't want to, or they don't know how to, so I decided to make a video on how to farm it, so that maybe some people out there that do want to farm it can finally do that. One thing I need to note though is Flux is pretty tedious to get, so I think that is one reason why a lot of players were just turned off from farming it. But hopefully today I can make it a little easy for those people that did want to. So a little disclaimer that I need to add before the real video starts. I will base this information off the ability that you already know how to launch a nuke. So with that in mind, there will be nothing in this video teaching you how to launch a nuke, just where to launch the nukes. So there are these three things that you need to harvest in nuke zones: high radiation fluids, hardened mass, and glowing mass. Those can only be dropped by enemies that you kill inside of nuke zones. So I recommend nuking a place with a lot of enemies, and the two places that I have picked out and have tested, White Springs and Morgantown. White Springs has a lot of ghouls, but Morgantown also has two events that can go live, and depending on how you nuke it, technically you can feed the people as well if you're lucky enough. So when you start up events in a nuke zone, those enemies will still drop the things that you need to harvest, so Morgantown is actually, I would say, the better candidate. A lot of people do like White Springs, that is also another good one, but personally I just like Morgantown. But like I said, the three things you want to look out for are high radiation fluid, hardened mass, and glowing mass. So in total there are 5 different types of flux: cobalt, crimson, fluorescent, violet, and yellowcake. I will go over these in alphabetical order, which is the order I just listed them in, and then afterwards I will go over what you do after you get the flux that you need to craft stable flux. The first flux we're going to look at is Cobalt Flux. This can be gained from quantum leaf, gloam sap, bomb berry, neutron pods, kiloton creepers, aftershock stalk, and wild fission fruit. The spot I would recommend nuking to harvest Cobalt Flux will be between the Bounty, one of the Fisher sites, Lake Eloise, Johnson's Acre, and Relay Tower EL0102. If you nuke this area, there are going to be 4 different plants you want to look out for: quantum leaf, gloam sap, bomb berry, and neutron pods. So when it comes to Crimson Flux, you want to look out for Red Hot Bloom, Bright Blight, Enlightened Fungus, Blast Berry, Blast Cap, Ionized Crackleberry, and Boom Bloom. The area I recommend nuking for this is directly on top of the Sparse Sundew Grove and the Cranberry Bog. So just like with Cobalt Flux, there are a few plants that you would want to look out for, and these two are Enlightened Fungus and Blast Berry. With Fluorescent Flux, there's only 3 plants that give you this, which is Glowing Mutt-Shoot Fungus, Rhododendron, and Irradiated Thistle. The area I recommend nuking for this is between Grafton Dam and the Eastern Regional Penitentiary. There is only one plant that you're going to want to look out for, and that is Rhododendron. When it comes to Violet Flux, you will be looking out for Irradiated Pitcher Plants, Nuke of Root, Flash Fern, Crackletail, Glow Pod, Gigagrain, Half-Life Hips, and Afterwind Vine. You would want to nuke slightly beneath Hemlock Hole's maintenance, and the plant you would want to look out for is Flash Fern. With Yellowcake Flux, you will be looking out for Rad Rose, Rad Berry, Gamma Dogwood, Irrada Root, Geiger Blossom, and Megaton Melon Blossom. You would want to nuke slightly south of the Scenic Overlook in the Savage Divide. And the only plant that you're going to be looking out here for is Radberry. So the last thing I'd like to do before this video ends is just go over some little tiny miscellaneous things that you should note. If you are harvesting Flux, I recommend using the Green Thumb perk, as if you use this perk, it will give you double of the raw Flux whenever you harvest one. And another perk, if you're crafting Flux, is Super Duper. Now this, I think, has a really low chance, because when I crafted Flux, this rarely went off, but it did go off. So Super Duper is a perk you definitely want to have on when you're crafting Flux, because Flux is not really the most fun to farm. Whenever you launch a nuke, You have a 2-hour cooldown on the silo and a 3-hour personal cooldown as well. Another thing to mention, nukes last for roughly about 2 hours, so you will have about 2 hours to harvest what you need in the nuke zone. But the plants will stay afterwards, but the enemies will not, so you'd want to get the most you can from the enemies if you're doing the enemy farms. So if you guys were looking for a guide to help you farm Flux, I really hope this guide helped, and with that, I'd like to bid all of you guys farewell, and I hope all of you have a wonderful evening.